I don't care if you can snap on 2 and 4. You are a misogynistic.
Hello and welcome to the Next Canon Podcast. On this podcast, we are working to recreate and reimagine the American theater canon so that it is more representative of our current modern theater community and what we want that community to look like. I'm so excited for today's episode because we are welcoming Gloria Alcalá. I'm so excited. Gloria, it's so good to see you.
You too, Danielle. Oh my gosh.
Gloria uses they, them pronouns. They are an artist, actor, music maker, musician, all of the things, theater maker, beautiful person. Tell the people a little bit about yourself, Gloria.
Hi, people. I'm Gloria. First of all, thank you, Danielle, for having me. This is my first podcast ever, and I'm very excited about it. So I am a musical theater artist, actor, singer, dancer, do a little bit of writing as well. I always like to say that I think and feel like a dramaturg. So that's like kind of where I'm coming from most of the time. But my emphasis is musical theater. I love to sing. I love musicals specifically. So that's kind of where my brain always is. I'm always in like singy dancy land. So yeah, that's me.
And you're an absolutely stunning performer in all of those things and creator. So I'm beyond excited to have you on the pod right now. So where are you at right now during the pandemic, the Corona girl?
I am in the coronavirus capital of the country, which is Arizona. I came down here. I'm from here. So I am staying with my mom for a little while, saving some money. I also am in this space, which is a big reason I'm here. This is my mom's garage that I've converted into kind of like a self-tape studio. I have some floodlights and I have like, this whole situation set up, and I've been trying to prioritize like my virtual presence and make the virtual art that's been happening. And I was kind of like, if I'm going to do this right, I need to be in a space and have a space where I feel not only comfortable, but am welcome to do this stuff. So it was kind of hard to do that in my like tiny corner apartment in Seattle. And so
feeling like you might be burdening the people around like with sound and stuff, or like, is that
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And also space. I mean, like it's hard to get a lot of space for a little money in Seattle. So I had a good apartment, but there were 2 other people in it, and it was just difficult to set up a space that I could really feel comfortable creating in. So that's the main reason I'm here right now. But I'm also, I call this the coronavirus capital because it's open, very open, like at like 60% capacity. I'm serving in a restaurant. I'm working in a tasting room. I literally interact with so many more people than I would like to every day, but, unemployment wasn't enough. I like have bills and I have payments and I have goals. Imagine goals. What are those? Like, so I'm just like trying to get some money so I can move to New York so I can do the thing.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm also at my parents' house, and it's been quite a thing of deciding like, where is your safe space, and like setting up my office here in like my bedroom, my childhood bedroom.
It looks so cute. Literally you have like, is that a dresser? This is so, yeah.
Okay. It's my dresser.
There was a part of me that was like, is that a mini fridge? Because if so, same, Danielle.
Oh, trust me, the mini fridge and the Keurig are right outside my room. Yeah, setting up this space, it's like, where is your safe space and where do you feel comfortable creating? Like, this is where I feel comfortable working and stuff, because it's like, this is basically a cave. I've lived in the basement my whole life, and it just is like a comfortable little cave. And my like sewing area is out in the living room by the windows and stuff, but it's open. And then my dad's like offering me his office or something, like, and I just don't like, that's not my comfortable spot. Like, that's like your office.
That's your office, Dad. How do I do weird art in there? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Exactly. I feel like we're all finding that how do we do what we want to do right now and save money, because I've been doing that too. And until recently I was working at Starbucks and like making some money, you know, to save, but it was not very much at all. So it's just like, it wasn't worth it to me. But it's a hard one. Like our whole industry and lives got turned upside down immediately, and we just have been recovering and working through.
We're still upside down. Like we are literally still underwater right now.
We're trying to like right the boat or something, you know.
We're just used to it now, you know, which is not necessarily a great thing. We still don't have the support we need, you know, we're still, and I mean, lest we forget, like for me at least, so many people are worse off than I am. I'm very thankful to be in the situation I'm in, but it doesn't mean it doesn't take a toll on you and you don't remember and long for the things that we had before.
Yeah. Like hugs with your friends that you don't live with.
Like your friends that you don't live with, period. Like there are so many people that activate warmth in my body that I have not felt in so long. And it makes me sad, honestly. I haven't thought about it in like a little bit. So
yeah, it's heartbreaking. You just try to push it to the back most of the time.
You're like, it's fine.
We're okay. I'm just gonna
1 second. Exactly. Oh my gosh.
So yeah, and you've been doing some Zoom theater, right?
Yeah, I was thank you for asking. I was very fortunate to work on Rachel Atkins' This Ain't Our History for the Washington State centennial celebration of the 19th Amendment. And it was a really lovely, necessary play about race relations during the women's suffrage movement. Which, you know, I'll just preface this, I may bring this up a few times while we talk. I am non-binary. I am always coming from that place. I play women a lot because I am femme presenting and I am, you know, female bodied and female assigned. But so it was an interesting experience for me specifically. Just, you know, you step out of yourself anytime you play a gendered character when you're non-binary, which is part of the job. But anyway, so it's specifically about race relations, and to have those voices in the room during that play was very impactful, even through a screen. It's like, it's super possible to make good, meaningful art through a screen. It's just not the same, you know? So yeah, I was very fortunate to work on that and just did the chorus part and like had 50 costumes or whatever. And yeah, that was directed by Sharmona Mitchell also, who is an incredible Seattle talent. We're very fortunate to have them in the area as well. And then just, you know, callbacks and auditions and self-tapes and that kind of thing. Other than that, which it's funny, I did my first Zoom callback last week. I
saw a lot of people had like Zoom callbacks for something last week, and I was like, what's going on in the
You're
world?
Like, what play is that? What are you doing? Let's hear it. I am probably not supposed to say, but anyway.
What company was it? I think it's the only question I have.
It was Seattle Shakespeare Company.
Okay, fun.
Yes. And
I fully wasn't like trying to peek and pry. I just was like, what are they all like auditioning for?
We must peek and pry. We're all like, what's happening? Like, your people in your age range, in your potential type range, are getting auditions. Like, of course we're like, what is that for? You know, I've been that way my entire life. I'm like, what did you audition for? But yeah, anyway, so it was just funny because it was the first time I've been in like a Zoom waiting room that was like an audition waiting room, and then called into the room to read with other people. It was really fun, but I'm like, it's just crazy to me that it's happening. It's like, those are my dogs. Sorry.
All good.
It's just crazy to me that that we're literally doing the same thing, only virtually. I'm like, Who would have ever thunk we would be doing this at all?
Okay, so my first question is, what do you consider to be canon, or what is a canon to you?
Um, I I've always thought of canon as being like iconic work, like things that represent a genre or a medium, things that are canon are what I want to see if I'm trying to understand a genre, if that
Mm,
makes sense. Like
yeah.
if I'm like the pinnacle of something, I would watch a canon show or something like that,
So if you wanted to know what like a golden age musical was, you watch like
Oklahoma
yeah.
or, you know, Showboat would be a show that is like very, very canon in my opinion. Um, Nobody really does it anymore, which is a good thing. But also like Hello Dolly, like those like golden age shows that um have a main character that sets out on a journey with a mission, and some outside force comes and intervenes, and then you also have the comedic relief characters on the side. Those are like a canon musical would have all of those things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. When did you first learn about like the term canon?
If I'm being honest, I think this is funny. I remember the first time I heard the term canon, and it was because my roommates in college and I were making a Harry Potter film. Shout out to Anna and Riley. And
Shout out.
so we had written this film and scrapped several versions and then brought on other writers, and we were producing this like independent film in sophomore year. And when we were sitting down like brainstorming what it was going to be like in our house, like over chips and salsa and like a bottle of wine, they were saying everything that this show was going to be has to come from the Harry Potter canon. And they said that, and I was like, what does that mean? I didn't realize that was a term for it at that point. So yeah, that was my first introduction to it.
So in your theater canon, what is a show that has to go?
Oh God, there's so many. But which the shows that I always just get shivers when I hear they're being produced? Kiss Me Kate.
Yep.
And Guys and Dolls.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what? Who chose this? How did you decide that these themes, these more like, when did you choose that this music and this I don't know, marketability was more important than what is actually being said? You know what I mean?
Ding 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 ding
It
ding.
behooves me that these, and it's not just big houses. It's like, everybody does these shows all the time still.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just won't do it. Like, I'll go in, I'll audition if I get invited. But if anyone ever offers me a role in Kiss Me Kate, I honestly don't know what I'll do. If it's no money, I'll obviously not do it. But like, it's just bewildering. So yeah, those are my shows.
Yeah.
And I did Guys and Dolls once. And I just remember at the time I was in high school. It was my sophomore year in high school. And I was doing the show and I like didn't know anything that I know now, but I was still like, they went to Havana, Cuba, and I was like, we should not be doing this right now. This is really bad. And, being non-binary, I hate the name so much. I hate that this art form that I love is constantly excluding me all the time. And, as a mixed race person too, I'm just like, where do I stand? Like, I'm sick of not feeling like I belong. Anyway. Whoa. That really came out of my mouth. Sorry.
Dude, no, that's so real. And that's been such a big thing that we've talked about. And I mentioned Guys and Dolls in a previous episode as well, because when I saw it, I walked out like, but what was the point? Like what were you trying to say with that? These two girls, two guys, it's like a whole, like, yeah, I get it. You're solving your personal problems, but like for what? Why? You know?
Jazz, baby, for jazz. Like, I don't care if you can snap on 2 and 4. You are a misogynistic. It really. I've thought the same thing about so many shows. Like, why? What did you hope I would feel? Like, what did you hope I would think as an audience member?
Seriously, I feel like in playwriting classes that I have taken, it's like, what do you want the audience to feel? Obviously, you can't control what an audience feels, but it should have like the intention, of like, what are you trying to say to this audience? And like the question that we both had now is like, but why, to a lot of different shows. So like, I fully agree with you. Those two are just like, ugh. So what is it about? What's the thing about Kiss Me Kate that always boils your skin?
The idea that women are beholden to men, that it's just, it's age old. It doesn't feel like we need it anymore, because there are people that go to these shows and they watch these plays and they laugh and they think, like, I would totally do that. Like, I'm definitely interested in being validated about this behavior right now. And so they will take those things that are put on stage and consider it validation to keep behaving in the ways that they do. It's like, we always heard the term, like, turn the mirror to society, but that's not always helpful when people are looking for a mirror that makes them feel okay about what they're doing. And so men who talk shit about women, men who, try to control and make anybody in a femme body small, will go and watch Kiss Me Kate and just love themselves after, because we are telling them how lovable they are in that moment. And that is not true. It's not lovable. It's not a good look.
It's not. Yeah, that's such a good point. It's like what we've been saying the last 10 minutes is like, it's about the messaging. It's like you're trying to say that to them. That's what you.
I mean, that's all it is. Like, that's all theater is messaging, literally. Like, whether we like it or not, it's beautiful. It brings joy. Like, but all of those things are messages. Therefore, every signal you send, as someone who's putting it on, as someone who's writing it, someone who's designing it, you are responsible for those signals.
Agreed fully. And so Kiss Me Kate by Guys and Dolls by those I would agree, they just have to go. It's just not worth it to put those vibes out when you could do so many other things. Like, out of everything you could do that is positive, like there's positive shows that like would be way more effective, in any literal situation than that can still make money. There's other choices than those ones. And who are you hurting,
Oh, that's such a good point. Like, at what cost, like,
it is a cost benefit analysis. And I'm sure that's what those conversations are at their root. It's like, here are 5 shows that we could do, cost benefit analysis for every single one. So it's like, if we're doing Oklahoma, pros, cons, yada, yada, yada. If we wanted to do like Hairspray, pros, cons, do we have the people for that? Like those sort of conversations.
Yeah, we live in America. Theater is capitalist, just like everything else. And It is all about profit. And we are aware of that. We understand that. And what's really unfortunate to me is that we don't have a choice but to play into it. Like, just like capitalism itself, which this is not a podcast about capitalism and the things wrong with capitalism, but that's always where my brain goes as an American who that is like, if you could, boil down my cells, it would be probably like capitalism that is in every single one of them, unfortunately. And that is just,
it's how we're trained to survive in society, and as artists especially, we have to be keenly aware because we need a house, we need like to feed ourselves. Like there's things that we need that the people benefiting from what we are doing are not willing to pay us a good wage for.
so then, like, yes. And my question, I respond with a question, which is, whose responsibility is that to make it possible for people to play into it safely? Like, if we do have to work for you in order to pay our bills, then what are you going to do? I'm talking to, the Fifth Avenue and ACT, and I'm talking to big houses that hire locally. What are you going to do in order to make your actors, actors, directors, designers safe in those environments? Because clearly many people don't feel safe right now. Like many people are not safe because of the content we're choosing and because of how we forgive baseless content all the time. So
yeah, fully. Like how long did we a loose term, how long were we okay with things like blackface? And
oh my
obscene
gosh,
amount of time.
did you know this? I was thinking about this today. Ken Ludwig won the Helen Hayes Award this year for Outstanding New Play for his play Dear Jack, Dear Louise. And, it's like a cutie. It's like a love story. It's like World War II, and it's white as fuck. And like, we know that about Ken Ludwig already. But then I'm like sitting there reading that and I'm like, didn't Ken Ludwig write Lend Me a Tenor? Like one of the most problematic plays I've ever read in my entire life. Like, we just awarded this middle-aged white man something this year. We validated his storytelling this year when back in the 70s, he wrote a rape scene and blackface into the same play and made fun of queer people and, validated like just lots of really, really terrible behaviors. And I'm not saying that that's what Dear Jack, Dear Louise is, but I'm saying that Ken Ludwig hasn't owned any of that. That hasn't been reconciled.
People forget so quickly and they want to.
Yeah.
They just want to be like, okay, wait, nope, no, like PR teams, they're like, don't say anything, people will forget, because we're overloaded with information at all times. So it's obvious that we'll forget stuff like that.
Yeah.
In 20 years, don't think about it. Like,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. Like, that's bleh, you. Yeah. So that's a question for, all of the people choosing
voters. Yeah. And like, if you are, I will say, like, not esteemed, but if you're within a margin of people that are voters for these kinds of awards, think about your privilege. Think about why you are in the position you're in. And what is your responsibility as a person who puts shows on a platform? You launch shows into a new form of recognition. If you have that power, then what shows do you think are important? What are you choosing to share with, that needs to be shared with the world? That is so important. We only give shows accolades because like a small group of people have given them accolades. It's so funny to remember that. Like I am always like, oh yeah, of course, like Dear Evan Hansen must be like the most amazing musical ever because it had 13 Tony nominations, right? But why do we love that show so much? Because about 200 people loved it that much. Anyway.
No, fully. And it is important who like pulls these things up, because it's who talks about it, gives it a life. The only reason we know certain people is because they knew other people. Like there is a connection there. Like we know these shows because people who control our media as theater artists put it there for us.
Yeah. Exactly.
And speaking of like putting shows where we want them to be, do you have a show that should be in the canon?
I was having a hard time with this question just because I do have a lot of shows, but the question was in the American theater canon, and I'm not saying there isn't incredible mindful American theater, but within at least my circle of new work and my circle of shows that I think are more representative and more valuable, they're not American. Like I have heard so many British shows and shows brought to England that I think are, a lot more helpful than the kinds of shows we're seeing in America right now. And but at the same time, I could say things like anything by Antoinette Nwandu is, like, for goodness sakes, like we need that content, we need that work, we should be listening to her voice, and I would honestly, I was thinking about it too, and I was like, crap, if I could pick the newest, if I could pick a musical that I've seen like in the last 5 years that I wish people could see in order to understand why musical theater is important, I would direct them towards Sarah Porkalob's Dragon Lady.
Yes.
I mean, that is literally, it's just, that is the kind of content that is helpful. It's helpful for not only marginalized voices, which it's very important that it's helpful for, but it's clever, it's worthwhile, it has that creativity that, is supposed to make canon shows special. You know what I mean? It has,
Sarah Porkalob's Dragon Lady is wonderful. It is a one-woman musical, like feels like a karaoke sing along with your family, but also like is so deeply impactful for so many moments in someone's life. Like it's a memory play in a way, sort of, I would say. Would you say?
Yeah, absolutely.
I highly recommend anyone listening go look it up, because there's a lot of information out about it, and subsequent creations from Sarah Porkalob, a amazing Seattle-based, usually, artist.
And I mean, and Sarah Porkalob is fucking American. You know what I mean? She has her fucking, like, she has a mission to serve communities in America and at the local level. And, it's those kinds of perspectives that are important for the American people, and also American artists. And she's been all over the place, she's done this show in a bunch of different places. People know about it. Anyway, I don't know if that's helpful or not, but
I agree. Yeah. I adore that show. I think Sarah's fantastic. So
I just like, find myself reading and listening to new musicals that are American, and I'm like, kids, like I sound like, so, I mean, I don't write musicals, or I mean, I have not written a full musical. I honestly just want to preface this and also just disclaim the fact that I don't know what I'm talking about to an extent. But I just don't want to hear your like sad story about, you know, your mom and dad's divorce. Like I don't want to hear your white story. That's like what I hear at these like new musical fringe festivals. That am I'm just like, where is, and even the new musicals I've workshopped and the new musicals I've worked on, which I have worked on a few. I'm like, what are we doing this for? There's one new musical that I have workshopped, and it's honestly like the most promising show that I have ever worked on.
Mhm.
And that's Chili Finger by Wayne Raleigh. It is a new musical, and I think that he would agree with me when I say about capitalism and about the way that capitalism, you know, disproportionately affects people. And it's hilarious, it's clever. It you know, as a Latinx person playing a Latinx person, he as a white man was very receptive to my writing for this character and like my perspective and what was valuable about it. That is a show that I can't say it needs to be part of the American theater canon yet because it's never been produced, but when it does in 10 years, or not 10 years, in like 5 years, when people know about this show, I'm going to be like, that should be canon, because that can impact every single American, I think, that show, because it forces us to ask ourselves what our roles are in society. Literally, every single person. Where's your money coming from? Where is it going? What are you putting it into? Who is getting it? You know, this is like why I don't shop Amazon. This is like why I don't try not to give my money to, you know, Taco Bell. God, I miss her. My girlfriend loves Taco Bell so much. I had to break up with Taco Bell this year because of capitalism. Anyway, I really obviously have a chip on my shoulder about capitalism. I am very passionate about specific economies and how they affect people, apparently. So
I mean, honestly, as we all should be. Like,
I don't even remember what things. I don't even remember what the question was at this point. I'm sorry.
It's
Oh, God.
The question was what show goes in the canon. No, I'm just kidding.
Backtrack.
So, do you have shows, switching gears, that you want to promote that are happening right now, or self-promo, things like that?
You know, I would self-promo if I had anything to promo about. It's
What's your
just...
Instagram? They'll stay in touch.
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram for sure. Gloria Lee Alcalá, Alcala, is the spelling of my last name.
I'll put a link below.
You can link me, girl. Yeah, you know, follow me on Instagram. I'm just doing the like actor in a pandemic trying to figure it out thing right now, you know? And in another, like, it's just funny because I'm like technically still contracted for 2 plays this year that are just like, is it gonna happen? Maybe, maybe not. And it's, you know, it's just, as we were saying earlier, it's sad. I miss being that. I miss that like lively, like going out and like running around from audition to work and, you know, doing everything I can to formulate the life I want to live, you know? And we just don't get to do that right now.
We're in this weird survival mode that is slow. Like, because we have so much access to what's happening globally, I feel like we all know we have to be on survival mode. Like, don't leave your house, be careful when you're in public, like all of those things. And then we as artists and actors don't get our thing that like makes us fire up, We can do other things. We're very multifaceted, all of us.
Well, and to that, I'll just say, like, there are things firing us up. We are responding, maybe not with a full-length play, but I know that we are responding to what's happening. There is a legendary inauguration happening this week that, we'll see what everything looks like after. And it's just so true that theater coming out of this pandemic we don't know what it's going to be, because it cannot be the same as what it was. We have become aware of white supremacy in a more public way than we ever have before. And we being like the general collective, like, plenty of BIPOC people have been plenty aware of it for plenty of time, but we have more information now. We cannot keep doing the things that perpetuate it, that we, even in January and February of this year, were doing. And I don't know.
No, that brought me back to week 1 of this podcast, where I think I said something along the lines of, if we don't change after this, we messed up. It's wrong. Like, if it was already wrong, but like, if we don't make a change during this weird moment of pause, what did we even do? You know what I mean?
And that change, like, it is not a grandiose thing by any means. Like, it is like goal setting and adhering to the demands of BIPOC folk, and being conscious of one moment at a time, and being and owning mistakes. We have to keep making mistakes, which is, but it just can't be profit at the cost, and it can't be behaviors that cost people what they have so often. I remember booking this terrible this is very public, I'm saying it. It's terrible musical that I was like, nominated for an award for, and like it, all looked fine and dandy. But on the inside, it was white men telling all femmes, 6 women, how to be women, and telling people of color how to be people of color. And when I got the call and got booked the show, the person who offered me the role said, "Yeah, now we have a Latinx person in the cast." And I was like, you know what? Not like, you have to learn the harm you do. When you say things like that, you diminish people's sense of self. You have diminished me when you say things like that, you have diminished me to an extent that I don't even want to do your show anymore. Like, it's just not fair. So anyway,
it's not
all that.
I'm validating you right now. That's messed up. That's really, like, not that you needed my validation or anything, but like the quota of that, like, I put air quotes around that feeling of like, you're a quota. That makes me want to rip my insides out. Just like, people need to think what they're saying, especially when you have power over someone. Like, this person offered you the role. Oh, now we have a tokenized you immediately. Instead of like, what?
And also, like, to diminish, exactly, like the tokenizing, the quota meeting, with so little awareness of the intergenerational sins, like so little awareness of the things that came before in order for you to feel like you are able to put me in a quota. Because white supremacy has always evolved, right? Like this is a evolutionary symptom of white supremacy that we see right now, because you weren't allowed to, kill me in the streets anymore. You are now allowed to just harass or whatever. And then because you're not allowed to openly harass anymore, you are allowed to aggress, and then you're allowed to microaggress. And this has kept happening, and it's literally it's funny because like the visual in my head is like it's like a reverse snowball effect, if that makes sense. It's like getting smaller and smaller and more not intertwined, but like
vague.
Almost. It's like it's getting more convoluted, like how white supremacy shows up,
right?
And it just is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Thank you for that, by the way. That's super important, and I'm glad that we are having this conversation. For my like final little question for you, who do you want to see on this podcast?
Who do I want to see on this podcast?
This is a sneaky question. I didn't warn you about this one.
That's funny. Who do I want to see talking?
Like, who do you want me to text right now?
I want to see. I can't think of someone specifically. I can. You
could say 8 people. You could say 1 person. There's no limit. The limit does not exist.
I want to see Claudia Nako. I want to see Nako because, first of all, incredible artist, actor, human being. I know that Nako is very smart, and I just know that she would have so many things to say. But then, the other person that comes into mind is like Sammy Detzer, because Sammy has read a lot of freaking plays. That's what I know about Sammy, because she used to be in a position to act where she was doing that. I can't remember what that position is called, but it's like, I don't know. And, aside from any specific people, I want to see someone who is responsible for a show season selection, like who is responsible for selecting the shows at Cornish College of the Arts. Like, what are you doing? That's my question. Oh, who would be, oh man, RJ Tanchioco. Do you know RJ?
No.
He is a music director in Seattle, and he is just really knowledgeable about the musical theater canon. Like, he knows these shows really well, and he's, very forward thinking and, very, very clever. He'd be a really interesting person to hear what he has to say about this. Because that's what, like, when you ask me, who do I want to see on this podcast? I'm like thinking, whose thoughts would I learn from? Like, who would benefit me?
Right.
So who else?
Who else?
One more person. I'm sorry. I'm got excited about this question. Julia Thornton. Do you know who Julia Thornton is? Okay.
I've heard the name though.
Yes. Julia Thornton is also a music director in town. She works over at the Fifth a lot. She music directed me in Urinetown at Cornish, and she is fire. She is very smart, and I learned so much from her in a short process. I know, and she, she's very inside at Fifth. I'm sure that she's like, in rooms that have conversations about shows and about what shows they do and why. And I'm not sure, I assume. And I respectfully hope that, she is, because she is really smart. So she'd be great. Anyway,
Awesome.
that is all.
Well, I'm so grateful for those ideas. You'll have to send me like emails or something so I can like sneak in there and ask them. Because I have been so like, I got to meet Anna Maria Campoy through this, and it was absolutely fantastic. Like, not knowing.
Really?
It was wonderful.
Oh my God.
You watch the episode, it's fantastic. And it was really like the first time we'd met in person, with air quotes, and it's just like getting to meet and know more people like through this has been so cool and fun. So I would love to reach out to those people and actually put them on the pod. All right, well, that about does it, my dude. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys so much for listening. We will see you next time on the Next Canon podcast. Maybe just like, give wherever you are a little like. I don't know how things work. We will see you guys next time. We go, bye.